A
We are
very good
live
morning
now.
to everyone. My name is Sapna Singh, and I'm the school coordinator of School of Fashion at Kyar Mangalam University. So today it is my pleasure to welcome all the viewers and our guest, designer Deepa Sondhi, for this interactive session that is on career perspectives in fashion industry. So designer Deepa Sondhi owns the label Karishma Deepa Sondhi, and their flagship store is in Punjabi Bagh, New Delhi. The designer is affiliated with Fashion Design Council of India. The designer has participated in New York Couture Week 2016, Delhi Time Fashion Week 2017, and also Lotus Makeup India Fashion Week of Fashion Design Council of India. Bollywood personalities like Zareen Khan, Bipasha Vasu, Swara Bhaskar have walked the round for the designer. Her signature style is originality. She moves between stunning crafted bridal wear and perfectly structured Western statements. Welcome again, designer Deepa, for this session. If our
Thank
viewers
you.
have any question during the sessions, they please type the question in the QA box at the bottom of your Zoom app or on the Facebook page of your university, and definitely we will bring them questions in our session. So now I am handing over the session to Ms. Mehek. She is an assistant professor of School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Kyar Mangalam University, and now she'll be host for the session. So please,
Uh,
Mehek,
thank,
ma'am.
yeah, thank you so much, Sapna
Thank
ma'am, for the introduction. Before I begin the session, I just want to say we all believe in fashion, right? So, fashion means to make, fashion is what we visualize. And in fact, it is the inner feeling of every human being to present himself or herself according to one's own thinking. And it's very rightly said by the super stylish Rachel Zoe, who says that style is the way to say who you are without having to speak. So it's a privilege, a great honor for me to be the host for this particular session, where I have designer Deepa Sodhi with me, who is an influential personality, who is passionate about her career. Already Sapna ma'am has introduced Deepa ma'am. I would like to highlight again that she has designed stunning outfits for Neha Dhupia, Malika Shirawat, Bipasha Basu, Swara Bhaskar, Zareen Khan, and many more people. Also, Deepa Sodhi's fashion world truly goes by their tagline, as she says that we don't design clothes, we design dreams. So again, a very welcome, Deepa ma'am, for this amazing session. I'm sure this session is going to be helpful for all the budding professionals and all of the people out there who want to know fashion in detail. So before I actually get into the basic questions, of course, everybody's right now coping with this pandemic right now. So I want to know from you, ma'am, that with everything happening around, how did you handle this particular situation as a fashion designer?
Thanks, Mehek, for having me on board. And well, as in when the pandemic started in Delhi, or I would say India, I think that was an alarming bell. And since then, only I had thought of, shutting the store, the factory outlet. So even before that, for me, the main, I really wanted the safety of my workers and my craftsmen. So even before the people, I think, started using the sanitizers, or they started being, going off the shelf in the store, in the market, we already provided each one of them with the sanitizer, with the mask. I already got them distanced in the workshop, and this I'm talking about something in the beginning of March. But then, as and when the things progressed, and I knew that this is going to be really bad scenario, so we had to then wind up, of course, like everybody. But then everybody is facing the brunt of it. The export orders were shelved, the ones which we were about to, we were in the middle of it. Then there were so many clients who had their clothes being done, so we had to put everything at rest. But because the safety of everybody and health was, I think, the topmost priority.
Yeah, that's very true. And I'm sure, of course, things have been taken care of. Ma'am, I want to know from you that you, like everything goes around, everything which is trendy becomes fashion. So do you think that the mask will become a fashion statement as an impact of this pandemic?
See, mask is going to be one of our, it's going to be a part of our dress now. We have to take it like that. So even you must have seen pictures on Insta where people are posting bride wearing a lehenga choli with a mask, or it's like it'll become a mandatory thing for everybody to wear. So I won't say it's fashion, but yes, everybody would like to slowly and steadily, when it becomes like a necessity, then people would like to stylize it, have a different mask, have a different way of putting it. So yes, these things will come up only once the lockdown is over and these kind of experiments start, because till the vaccine comes in the market, people cannot get off their masks. The masks have to be there.
Yeah, true. That's absolutely true. So, ma'am, of course, this particular pandemic, we have been at homes. Everything is shut down. It's like we're gonna start from where we actually started long back. So, according to you, how do you see that? How will people plan wedding now? The fashion events post this pandemic situation is resolved. So, how would this impact this particular area where fashion means a lot?
See, fashion is a luxury market, and it's the worst hit market, because luxury is one thing that's worst hit with this pandemic. So as far as weddings are concerned, I think most of them have been cancelled or postponed, as you know. And now, even if a wedding happens in due course of time, it just has to be a gathering of 50 people. So naturally, the extravaganza, the big fat Indian wedding, the lavish spending, everything comes, is curtailed. So still people will buy, but they will buy something that they need. Something is affordable, something that they can reuse. It won't be a mindless and a lavish buying now. And with the wedding, I would feel that the wedding thing coming down, it's not only the designers, the hospitality sector has crumbled totally. The photographers, the makeup artists, the venue owners, everybody's suffering the brunt of it. So yes, we cannot expect those kind of lavish weddings anymore. And as for fashion weeks, I think they cannot happen, because if you can't have a gathering, how can a fashion week happen? So basically, every designer is going to promote his or her collection online. So digital promotion is going to be a big way.
All right, so that's what I was just about to ask you. Of course, there'll be change in the way we do the business, keeping social distancing in mind. So you will be treating your clients virtually, or how do you see it? Like the brides would come talk to you virtually, and then you can design for them virtually.
Yeah, that's a good question. See, I have a standalone store. Firstly, I'm not in a mall or in a place where there is a lot of footfall, or it's a cluster of people who are coming. So I'm on like the Club Road, as you've mentioned, in Punjabi Bagh, and mine is a store which is a standalone store. And even when there was no pandemic, we used to have 3 or 4 clients maximum coming throughout the day, because we are into couture and bridal wear, as you know. So now I believe that would be the same. And so I don't ever have, or neither I will have, a large group of people coming to me, because we are doing, we are into luxury. And from now onwards, in fact, from the beginning of March itself, we had put sanitizers everywhere. We were sanitizing the place every 3 hours. That was the work of my staff there. And of course, masks were mandatory. And we have even thought that any client who approaches us post this lockdown and is not wearing a mask due to some reason, so we've already are into the process of manufacturing those masks. So we'll give the mask to the client, and which he can take away. And, that'll be like something we'll be gifting to the client or giving to the client, even if it's a walk-in client. Even buying from us or not doesn't really make any difference. But this we need to do for our society, for humanity. I think as a designer, I owe this much to the society.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, like you mentioned that you are a luxury designer, but of course, you like we have been discussing that pandemic has changed the way people will take up things. Maybe their consumption cycle would change. So how do you see, like, how would people now the way they buy things, the way they approach things, if it's luxury or not, will it affect the market? In what way? How do you see all of these things, and what can be done for it?
Yeah, see, luxury market, the couture market is badly affected, as I told you. nobody will go for something which is very elaborate or, which is very high on price. So we as designers, we have to modify this now. And we have to come up with timeless, affordable classics. So this is what the people would invest in and go for. Basically, slow fashion will take over. No more it's going to be a fast fashion. And anyways, we were never into fast fashion. So what I feel is affordable classics is what will be, really appreciated by the clients, and something that they can reuse and recycle and, wear it over and over again. So this is the kind of thing that we need to create as a couture designer for a client. And of course, because this is the time, fashion needs to be inclusive, not exclusive. And wants, I think, come over the desires at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Of course, the pandemic will definitely change the way people consume. But do you think that our buyers in general, are they smart, or it's just that trend that impacts the way they usually buy if there was not this pandemic situation?
If there was not this pandemic situation.
Yeah.
If there was not this pandemic situation, in any case, everything was running in a normal manner. Mm-hmm. But post-pandemic or post this lockdown, see, if I'm an optimist, I can think that there can be a revenge buying. Like you must have seen at Hermes in China, post-lockdown, there was like a sale of $2.7 million at Hermes. Mm-hmm. So post-World War II also, people just, crowded the markets and they bought everything. So that's a revenge buying that we say, which is just a chance. I mean, I'm not very sure if it happens, but this can happen. A person who is used to luxury or something, like the people or the clients, they might come in and buy the luxury things. But generally now, I think the spending power of a client has really been impacted with the pandemic. So they will be very thrifty, they will be very mindful, and they will not be buying things just, on impulse. Impulsive buying will no more be there. It will be more about mindful, about their needs, and something about that they can use. And moreover, the entire culture now has changed. People are now working from home. So probably they would like to have more of loungewear. They would like to invest in something, which is more comfortable and more practical for them. So the whole face of fashion will basically change post-pandemic, I believe.
All right. That's what will change absolutely in all of the business. Otherwise, also post-pandemic. All right, ma'am. We will have most of budding fashion fiesta who want to know more about the world, how you started our journey. Before that, I want to ask you a very important question. Of course, most of the artisans they come from the minority, and specifically to the fashion world, they have been struggling. So, how do you see that? Like, because whenever a student who wants to choose a profession, he wants to enter into the fashion world. So, of course, this pandemic has create a scare in everybody that oh my god, everything is just about to end. So how do you see that, how we can cope up with those struggles?
See, these past few years, there has been a revival of our handloom industry to a great extent, and people have really cooperated. If you have seen handloom, hand-woven fabrics like the Kanjivarams, the Pochampalis, Jamdanis, and Patolas, they have really being liked by people, and it's a revival of the handloom industry. Now, those artisans and weavers, I think they are a responsibility of every designer and our community as well. So me as a designer, my contribution can be that I can make myself an essential part of the indigenous craft that is being created by them. So whenever I come up with any collection, in fact, we've been doing that. So for every designer, I think they should incorporate those hand-woven indigenous crafts so that, the artisans and craftsmen also can, have their bread and butter, and it's a, upliftment of the economy. And what else I feel is that we should be embracing and appreciating Make in India, handloom, handmade, and something that is original to our country, which I think will raise up the economy and also help the local craftsmen.
All right. Absolutely fantastic. Of course, every world would actually try to, fight with this pandemic together. And of course, we will restart. Is absolutely okay, because when it's a fight between life and livelihood, one has to suffer, and ultimately life is most important.
Yeah,
So we'll cope up
yeah.
with that. Yeah. So heading to a question, there are a lot of students from the School of Fashion, of course, here from different universities, different cities. So heading to the most basic question, which I think if anybody who is just sitting at home and just watching us live might want to ask you, even I wanted to ask when I didn't had any idea who is a fashion designer in general. So can you just differentiate between fashion designing and costume designing?
See, fashion designing, fashion is what that's your style, that
Mhm.
everybody has.
Mhm.
So that is like everybody has a different style and a unique style to his or her own personality. That's a fashion, Somebody, two people might wear the same dress, but they look completely different because
Exactly.
each individual has their own style. But costume designing is something that, you're working on a particular garment and you work to death on it. You make it very intricate, you highlight it, or at times you make it very dramatic, it comes like out of the box. So that's a completely different thing. That's what you're working on a garment. But fashion styling or fashion is what I think one can look very classy and trendy even in a even in a salwar suit also. So it's how you carry it, and it's a fashion style is very unique to everybody. So there's a difference between the two things.
All right. So, the very, very interesting fact about a fashion designer, the most interesting part of the fashion designer is that he or she is a fashion designer. And you are a fashion designer, you are a stylist, you are a fashion fiesta who has worked with big celebrities. I want to know from you that because you're going to inspire a lot of my budding students who want to become a fashion fiesta, what ultimately made you realize that this world is meant for you? When was that actual click that happened to you?
Well, it's been more than 6 years that we started with our work, and me and Karishma, we started together.
Yeah.
So basically, Karishma is my daughter, and she has graduated from Pearl Academy from Delhi and done her
Yeah.
master's from Parsons School of Fashion America. So basically, she had that designing. She handles the designing, and I'm into sales. I'm into the production, marketing. So that's how we work as a team, and that's how our work started. So,
Okay.
and as about myself, I would tell you, or for any fashion designer,
Yeah.
there are a few things. See, when you are a fashion designer, no, it has to be a package of many things. You just can't have one quality. I mean, that's what I personally feel. You need to know the business skills, the marketing strategies, the consumer behavior. Then you need to know about, you need to have very strong visualization skills. You should have an eye for detail. You should have a competitive spirit, very good communication skills. And to top it all, every designer should have his or her personal style. That's very important.
All
And
right.
the most important thing for a designer is that they should be able to lead the work efficiently. I mean, whenever you are creating a garment or an outfit, it's a teamwork. Only one designer can't make anything. So to execute the work smoothly, to carry it out in an efficient manner is what, this teamwork is really important, to be a part of the team for the designer, and to, make everything very smooth. And smooth functioning is another skill that they should have. So, and of course, coming up with new ideas, coming up with new collections. So being a designer is a package of, I think, a lot of things. And I felt that I had those somehow those kind of things in me, and God has been kind.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. You have actually tried to answer a lot of questions in this particular section, because most of the students they actually are not clear that what should they do, when should they decide that they are meant for this or not. Of course, initially or even now, you must have been influenced by people. So I want to know from you, where do you find your inspiration, your style? By looking at real people, or you look up at the influencers, because now we have a lot of influencers all around.
Okay. Firstly, I would answer this question. See, influencers and celebrities have a robust social media following.
Yeah.
But for me, my real inspiration is my client.
Mhm.
The client who believes in our brand, who has believed in our brand and has taken it forward and is a real woman. So for me, that's the real inspiration. And dressing up whenever we are, coming up with a collection or designing something, we always keep in mind the Indian woman body. So, it's an hourglass figure, it could be a pear-shaped body, or it could be an apple-shaped body. So these are the kind of things. So we've always been making clothes which suit an Indian woman. And for me, my real inspiration are my clients, the real women, of course. So I have always found my happiness in them. And it gives me immense pleasure when they wear our outfits and, get clicked. I mean, that's really nice.
All right. So, right, like you already mentioned that your inspiration, your clients, of course, most of the clients come up to you, they talk to you about different ideas. So, what's your observation? Because you own a fantabulous store, you already are into this business. So, what impacts young women, or more of are they impacted by these celebrities, or how do they actually describe or explain, or they are influenced by whom? How do you see that?
See, it varies. And I would say here an age group matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The younger generation is, yes, very much influenced by the celebrities. And the middle-aged would, I think, love to look slimmer in whatever they wear. So the main, they would ask me, show us something that I look slim in. I should look slim. That's what they want. And of course, the older women want something that's very graceful and nice. So it depends upon the age group. But yes, the millennials and the younger generation, they are quite influenced by the celebrity, what they are wearing. And of course, at times, so we try and talk it out to them. And whenever we are talking to a client, I always make sure that I see their body type. That is the first thing. Then comes what occasion they are looking at. Then comes what is their budget. So these things have to be taken care of before we suggest them something or we tell them something. Because, and I generally, because since it's been so many years now dealing with clients, so I come to know in a jiffy, like what's going to suit which body type. So we give them the suggestions likewise.
All right. So we have a lot of questions coming up, but I want to ask a lot of questions otherwise also. So we'll start taking questions also a bit. I want to know from you, what were your initial challenges when you decided you want to, start this venture?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. See, when I started this venture, the biggest challenge that I faced was to strike a balance between designing, marketing, sales, and media. So there were so many things, like you have to have a right balance between everything and make everything run in a smooth manner. So initially, these initial stages were a little tough, but everything happened and we struggled and, and of course, to help, to lead your personal and professional life parallel, because my profession is very time consuming. So good time management was what I had to really learn and practice. And another major challenge that I faced, or any designer faces, is to have an identity and a uniqueness for your brand. That is to basically promote your brand value. So we since beginning only, whenever we designed, we always wanted to be innovative, different, and we made sure that whatever we are doing is no inspiration from any designer's work. So, it should be very unique and it should identify you as a designer and you should stand out. I think these are the kind of challenges we have faced. And of course, now the things have fallen in place.
Yeah. So Pooja wants to know that how do you actually handle an arrogant client?
Arrogant client. Okay.
Yeah.
See, yeah, that's a good question. See, let me tell you, Pooja, most of my clients I have a personal connect with. And we share a very good comfort level because they've been coming to me since I started my work, most of them. But yes, once in a blue moon, I would say once in a 6 months, we get an arrogant client. And, but we still, it's our good business ethics that we try and, explain them, try to sort out things with them. But if it doesn't happen, then I put my staff forward at times. But if I see it's point of no return, then we no longer give them services. That's all we can do.
All right. So,
Yeah.
so I have another very interesting question. Shweta wants to know that how do you think we can transform the International Fashion Week so that they are more sustainable and promote the right message to buy smart?
Okay, see, whenever you see a catwalk on an International Fashion Week, the moment we murmur, oh, it's unwearable. Fashion on the International Fashion Weeks that have been happening is all like costumes are walking, It's irrelevant, it's unrealistic, it's so complicated, secretive, closed. Because what the designer is showing on the ramp, he has a totally different collection in the store. So the viewers can't even, visualize the collection, what he's selling or what they would be looking at. So I believe they should be, saying to it should be working like that. See now and buy now. So whatever they are showcasing, it should be so wearable that people can buy it off the rack. So fashion should not be, frivolous or decanted the way that's shown in the International Fashion Weeks, because for a normal person, an ordinary person who's going to the office, it doesn't make any sense. And yes, one thing, animal fur and animal skin, what they had been using should be totally banned, I think, and which has been done now. So animal exploitation should be banned. And you must see on Instagram, there is Amy Pawni. She has started the luxury eco brand, Mother of Pearl, and her hashtag is future, fashion future. And she is really doing it very well and trying to promote sustainable fashion. So I think things have to change and sustainable fashion has to take over with due course of time. And I think that's what now, after this pandemic, people all over the world will realize globally.
All right. So, of course, like we have already discussed that the post-pandemic, a lot of things will change, but people still want to know that how to do fashion strategies to promote and advertise their collection. Supposedly, it's a budding a fashion designer who wants to start their venture. So, what should they do? Yeah.
Okay. See, now post-COVID, we can only, take the help of technology. Online, going online, digital, and exploring e-commerce. That's the way we can come up, and put up our collection or publicize it. Then I feel it's like technology plays a very important role. Online styling, online dressing will go a big way. And the most important part is now fashion cannot be mindless. We need to have a mindful and holistic approach towards fashion. In the sense, like if a designer is coming up with a collection, any designer, a young, budding, or an established, the collection needs to have a story behind it. It should be championing a cause. Like we will now be using the hashtags, who made my clothes? How many hours it took to make the clothes? How were the clothes made? So these are the kind of realistic things that we have to be. So we have to be transparent with the client, with our work team. So, this is how we can strategize. We can pull on fashion now. So I would say channelize your energies in a very emphatic, in a very emotional manner. You are sensitive to the earth, to animals. You move towards sustainable development program. You use the limited resources provided to you. And most of all, always see to the welfare of the people who are working for you. That's most important.
All right. I hope everybody is getting their answers. Actually, I have a lot of questions coming out, and I'm trying to, combine all of the questions. So we have one question from the anonymous attendee who is saying that, ma'am, as you said that the fashion industry would be moving towards slow fashion and the store would incur loss. And since luxury fashion will be badly affected after this pandemic, so how would things change? People will change their forte or like from the couture to other things.
Yeah, I told you now no longer couture or elaborate things. Like people won't like spending money because now it's impacted everybody's spending power. The pandemic has literally taken the entire world into economic crisis. So the couture industry has to modify itself. See, once the people if they are not very willing to spend so much, the couture industry needs to come up with something which is, I told you, timeless, which is affordable, and that kind of a luxury piece, which is affordable, timeless. But yes, I still would say handmade products will still rule the industry. People will still take it as a luxury. People will still feel like buying, but it'll be more mindful buying, and wants will take over desires. And again, I said that the industry needs to be more inclusive. It cannot be very exclusive. Like earlier, fashion was for just the niche, like, something couture or something. Now the couture has to change its meaning. It has to become accessible to more people. So that's how the things have to change now.
All right. So we have another very interesting question from Nidhi Sehgal, who wants to know that are you at this particular time working on any new designs or collections during this lockdown?
Yeah.
Because now you have time. So
Yeah,
how you
sure.
are inspired? Yeah, please tell.
See, pre-COVID, I had my FDCI show on 13th of March. That was with the Lotus Makeup India Fashion Week. And we had already worked on our autumn-winter collection 2020. But unfortunately, it all got shelved. The fashion weeks were all shelved. So now we are working on the summer capsule collection, which we do every year. And hopefully post-lockdown, we should come up with it.
All right. So at this particular time, of course, we have a lot of time. We have been actually doing a lot of things at home, cooking and all of that. So what apart from fashion interests you?
Okay. See, apart from fashion, I would say what interests me is hitting the gym. I am like I love to gym, and I have a home gym, so that saves my time and commuting to, places. So I really love doing that. And yes, of course, reading and travel used to be, but now travel is ruled out, so I can't say. But yes, that is what interests me as well.
All right. So another important thing that I would you like to ask you, because this can actually help a lot of budding people who have interest in this area. How do you stay updated regarding fashion? Do you read particular magazines or books or particular website that people or students should actually log in to inspire themselves in general? To stay
See,
updated.
I believe you are a student throughout your life. No designer can say that I know everything about the fashion or I know everything about the designing world. So you have to keep on reading, studying, enhancing your knowledge. So these days, Instagram, I feel, is the best. It's online that gives you maximum knowledge about what all is happening around. Of course, yes, magazines, newspapers, everything has gone digital now. So I think we're reading digital. We are on the screen more than we are actually reading the newspapers. And of course, knowing the latest fashion trends. So you have to be updated. You have to be, so it's a mix of everything. I can't say I'm just reading this, or I'm reading that. It's like you have to know everything around that's happening. So you never know what might click with your clients or what might click with your brand. So that's how it is.
Okay, so another very biographical question, because you are into the industry, you have been dealing with all of this. What are your work ethics? Like maybe ethics have changed, will change post pandemic, or otherwise also in general. What are your work ethics? Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you, Mehek, we have always been into ethical fashion. And for me, ethics were there, are there, and will be there. Now, they have, like, for a designer, I would say ethics are at the workplace, ethics are with your client, and ethics are with your environment. Now, first, let's come to the workplace. Every designer should be providing an amicable, good working conditions for the staff, paying them honestly. That is what, and not exploiting them. That is ethics at workplace. Ethics with your clients is you should generate a fair price point and make your stuff very transparent so that the client should know what they are paying for. And that's what we do. Whenever a client comes to me and asks me, like, how much, why is this for this? So we explain them, see, this is what we have done. This is the surface treatment. This is the embroidery, and you're paying for this. So this is also ethical, and not charging them beyond what you require. These are ethics. Then being ethical with the environment, that is not exploiting it. Then no animal exploitation for your collection, and coming up with sustainable. And now I think we are aiming at coming up with a zero waste collection, which is very good for the environment, because unfortunately, this fashion industry is the second most polluting industry after the carbon emission by the airplanes and the maritime. The maximum carbon that goes into the atmosphere is with the fashion industry. So I think we can control this by embracing slow fashion again, coming up with what we require, like not overstocking, not overproducing. Even that is harmful for the environment. So these are all the ethics that we need to follow at every step.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, this pandemic has nothing could actually pause us. This is only this pandemic that has paused us, and ultimately, I don't know how to see is that it as a positive indication now things would become better, or we would become smart as a customer, as a consumer that way. All right, I have another question from Ritika Saxena who wants to know that has the visibility of fashion designers increased with the change in the dynamics of media and movies?
Sorry, with the
Yeah,
dynamics of?
media and movies. Has the visibility of fashion designers increased with change in dynamics of media and movies?
Yes, of course. See, when if every designer wants to promote their collection or their garment, when a celebrity is wearing, and of course, the ones who get that's a golden chance to do a movie or something, then they are all over. So that, of course, has really increased their visibility. And then the social media has been a major factor. Again, I think these days it's all about Instagram. You know how they everybody comes to know which designer or which celebrity is wearing which designer's outfit. So this really helps for the visibility. And people at times are also they haven't like known a designer or haven't been there, but just hearing a name, see, name really matters, so they might approach the designer, and so it helps in their work and business as well. So yes, I would say that's made a marginal, that's made a great difference.
All right. Of course, because we are influenced by what we see, so that's another
Yeah.
thing. All right, so we have a question from Black Mama who wants to know that how can I shape my wardrobe amidst this ongoing pandemic? So how can they shape their wardrobe? That's another thing, like of course.
How can they put it like, okay, swapping the wardrobe is what most of the people are doing at this time. So try and put different combinations, try and team up your skirt with a different top, a crop top with a pant. And you can even go up about, you can cut your t-shirts, what most people are doing, changing them into a crop top. As with your jeans, you can just cut them, put on those small swatches of some printed cloth or something, make it more interesting. And you can have something used like a belt, a beautiful fabric that you have with you. It can be a belt on your waist, or you can use it as a headband. So there are a lot of innovations that you can do, and swapping the wardrobe, I think, is one of the best things that can happen during this pandemic.
Yeah,
And that's what
absolutely.
even
Because
I'm doing. I'm
because
also
it
trying
actually
to,
it
yeah,
affects your mood. You feel happy
yeah,
when you are dressed up, right?
yeah.
So
And even if you are at home, you should be well dressed, I think.
yeah,
It's not that you are at home, you be lousy, or you feel, oh no, we don't. You are dressing up for yourself, for your confidence. It's for your, you're starting your day in a positive manner. I feel it's really important for every woman to dress up, and I do that every day. So even in the
yeah,
lockdown, I've been doing that. Yes.
yeah. So you're inspiring me to do the same. Because unless and until we have to come live teaching students, we are like always like, okay, we are staying at home, we don't need to do anything like that.
Yeah.
All right, so we have another question from Nishu Bansal who wants to know that which is your favorite part of being a fashion designer, the favorite part, the
Okay.
favorite maybe area. Yeah.
Yeah. See, the favorite part of mine being a fashion designer is when I wear my own clothes. So when I make a collection or when I make my garment, it's not about time, it's not about money, it's my sentiments and emotions that go into the garment. So I have an emotional connect with what I'm making and doing. So when I wear it, I feel more than anybody else. When I wear it, I feel so good, and my clients love to connect with me wearing something that's mine. And again, I feel the concept of a real woman comes in.
Mhm.
So this is one part I really love, when a garment comes out beautiful and I'm the first one who's wearing it.
Mhm.
And secondly, I would say coming up with new ideas for a new collection is another thing that excites me a lot, and being imaginative, innovative. Yes.
All right. So, of course, there are a lot of areas in which the fashion designer works. To put in better way, just I want to know from you the three main areas in which the designer can work.
Sorry, your voice is a little.
Yeah. what are fashion designers' areas of working? Like the three main areas in which the designer actually works.
See, the designer works. First is the designing area, another is the production, and third is the marketing and the sales. So these are the three main sectors where the designer needs to work. And nothing can top over the other. Your your designing is an integral part, because that's the outcome of the entire garment. Then your production, how the things happen in a clean manner, with the skilled labor, and you're looking at everything, that is another important aspect. And of course, selling it, and the garment going to the client, even that is a main sector of job, I think. So these are the three areas where the designer has to work. And even if he's not working or she's not working on it, and they have staff, they have to actually coordinate everything. They have to look over everything. They can't just, so basically I told you, being a designer is a package. It's just not one thing that you need to do. You have to be on your toes. So I would say you need to know something about everything.
Yeah.
Like that.
Of course, jack of all trades.
Yeah.
All right. So Sanya wants to know that as we all are into quarantine, so do this help to observe things and take inspiration for the upcoming collection? Does it inspire you this period of, are you utilizing it in, maybe this is the only time you can actually come up with new ideas?
Yeah, see, I try to, keep imagining and thinking, and of course that's my work, and I at least try to spend 2 to 3 hours on this. But then again, I won't lie to you, at this point of time, when I see the crisis in the market, or when I see the economy crashing down, I don't let my imaginations go wild, okay? So I stop somewhere and I think, no, I have to be practical. I have to do something that will be, sold, or that'll, be taken by the clients. So then I start becoming rational. So I won't lie to you about this. Imaginations do run wild for me. But then seeing this point of time and seeing the current scenario, I try to think practical and rational.
All right. So we have another question. Actually, people are so enthusiastic. They want to know about how, how they can just start up and how to do all of the things. So Irene wants to know that she's a little confused about finding style. So how can you find your style? And can you advise on how to find their own particular style? Like you already mentioned that every designer has to have their own style. How should one analyze that this is my style, or no, this is not my style? How should they differentiate between the two?
Okay, firstly, style is not given to you by anybody. Yeah. Style is not that you buy from somewhere. You can't borrow it or buy it. Style is inbuilt in you. That is something you are born with. So I think style, every person has a different style. Every individual has a different style. Even if you see celebrities, every celebrity has a different style. Your style of walking, the style of talking, the way you dress up, the way you present yourself. So everybody, so I think now this question that she says, I want to develop my style. So for that, you need to gather confidence firstly. Don't get, crushed with any critics' comments. You need to be totally confident about yourself, and you will, try and work on yourself, try and make yourself look good, and slowly and steadily you will develop a style for sure.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. It might.
This question will definitely. It's an inbuilt thing. It's an inbuilt thing. You can't buy it, or you can't even, you can't even copy it. So it's something that you have to create yourself, and that happens with confidence. And when you also take good care of your bodies also, I think, which is very good with the current scenario, I think everybody should be into fitness and, taking good care of themselves. So even that I would be always promoting. Yeah.
Like you already mentioned that classic is your style, and we always say that classic is never out of style. So how do you want to say this, or, I want to know your comments on this statement for all of these people who actually run around the fashion or the transient fashion in general. Yeah.
See, what I can call a classic, being an Indian, see, anything that is, say, a silk fabric, something that is, hand woven, any fabric that is Indian, hand woven, is very precious. It's a classic, I would say. Like you buy a Kanjivaram sari, it's a classic. It is throughout, like even if you're 25 years, you wear it, you're 50 years, you wear it, you're 70 years, you wear it. So it sees no age. So that is what is called a classic and a timeless piece. So, and the embroideries, which India has been doing since so long, our chikankaris, zardozi, then our work with Dabka Zari. So these are the our patent embroideries. So these are hand, these are all hand embroidered, hand embroideries. So anything that is handmade, handcrafted, anything which is on a fabric, which is timeless, like I mentioned to you. So that is a classic thing. And that is something like will never go out of fashion. So people would always like to invest in that, and they would want to have it in their wardrobe. So
of course,
like even post COVID, if somebody like comes to me and like, see, we have always been doing classics. I mean, initially as well, we've been doing hand embroideries, and we've been always into. In fact, I do only hand embroideries. We are not into machine embroideries at all. So everything is handmade and handcrafted. So this is what something people can cherish throughout. So anything which has that hand labor is, I think, always timeless and a classic piece.
In fact, actually, and I believe being a smart consumer or a smart customer in general, classic is the actual style, because otherwise, though, it's like our consumption will increase and the production has to increase, and all of this are the problems otherwise. All right, so Kashish wants to know that there's so much pressure for designers to come out with their greatest collection season after season. So what is your advice to the young designers who are just starting out and hoping to make it in the industry, who are actually feeling pressurized that how would they just cope up with the spring season, autumn season coming up every now and then?
Okay. See, firstly, I would like to say now, like you see the present pandemic. So fast fashion is, what is being criticized right now. Zara and H&M, these are the stores which come up with like 24 collections a year. Can you believe it? H&M comes up with 12 collections in a year. So, but then what they are doing with their leftover stock is they are burning it and destroying it, which is again so detrimental for our environment. I have from the beginning been doing only 2 collections in a year, not more than 2. We have always been coming up with 2 collections, but again, there is a lot of thought process that goes behind doing that collection, lot of work. Even if we come up with 2 collections, it has like, it takes me like 3 to 4 months to come up with 1 collection, minimum 3 to 4, because, so again, as I mentioned, it's like a classic pieces that we need to have. So, like for the budding designers, I would say, don't get into the rat race. Don't get into, making too many clothes, too many collections, because people now will not buy so fast. And then overstocking yourself is bad for your economy. It's bad for your budget, and it's bad for the environment as well. So go slow, go steady, keep experimenting. And all of us, be it a budding designer or an established designer, we all need to understand the consumer behavior post-COVID. And that's how we come to know how the market goes.
All right. Of course, the things have little changed or will change for the students who are soon graduating in the 2020. Of course, there's a different way we should look upon those students. But in general, talking about job opportunities in this area, how do you see how the career prospects, all of this? Can you just tell in detail about the various opportunities students have in the fashion world?
See, I won't lie to you. The career prospects, the job prospects, especially the placements, they will all be like, there'll be a big impact on that. Because if a designer is not able to sell properly, and if the economy is all crumbling, how can they recruit more people or have more placements? So for the time being, I think that will not be there. But yes, slowly and steadily, once the curve is flattened, and the vaccine is there, things will again fall back to normalcy. But for all the students there who feel that, we don't have a placement right now, or we can't be working under somebody right now, I would advise, please keep enhancing your skills at home. Try and get your inner designer out every day with the scrap, with the leftovers, what you have at home, with the, be innovative, try and create something. You might never know where it helps you. So don't sit back. Keep this, like they say, the show must go on. So keep doing something, and I'm sure you will reach somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope I have tried to take up all of the possible questions, but still I have another question from Pooja Gupta, who wants to ask you that what are your plans post COVID-19, or when this scenario change, when everything is fine, what are you planning to do after that?
Okay, yeah. See, once this, after this lockdown, probably the first thing that I'm going to do is we need to be more, like getting into more technology, going more digital, exploring more e-commerce, as I told you. So things will, change, and we have to adapt that way of life. Online dressing, we'll come up with a new collection online. No longer we can have a show. So apart from that, I think, again, the handloom industry, I want to be a part of it so that the craftsmen, the weavers, they get work and I'm able to generate some economy for them. Okay. And I want to always embrace slow fashion, which I have been doing otherwise also, and sustainable fashion. And again, as I said, the collection that we are planning now should be a zero wastage. We'll try a level best that it should be a zero wastage collection. And to top it all, my priority would be the team and the people who have been working for me. They have taken my brand over these years. I mean, it's been a long journey, and it's like, they have helped me throughout. So I have to stand by them and have to see to their welfare. Even that is my sector of interest post-pandemic.
That's wonderful to know from you, because of course we can fight with this pandemic only if we together we work as team and we take care of everybody working with us in the team. Well, that was very amazing to know you in person, and I'm sure we have almost covered all of the possible questions that our budding fashion fiesta will have in their mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so I would hand over this session to Sapna ma'am now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mehak. Thank you so much, Mehak. And a very special thank to our designer, Deepa, because I hope the session was really mind blowing. The questions the students had put, the questions are very generic, and it is totally their objective behind the questions are their career basically. And they wanted everything in the point of view of the career, how to go ahead for things, and you describe the everything in a very good manner, how you describe the elements and the designing and the principle in a very good, and jot out the points in a very good manner. And I hope my all students, my viewers, and whatever the guest we have today on the session, they all got lot of things from this session. And we are so much thankful to you, designer Deepa, and we
My
are
pleasure.
thankful, yeah, we are thankful to all our viewers, students, participants, attendants, those who are with us on a Zoom session as well as on the Facebook page. Thanks everyone for joining us today for this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A
Bye-bye.
special thanks to Mehak also for hosting the
Yeah.
session. A
Thank you.
special
Thank
Thanks,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
for lovely
Well, it was my
questions.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.